Well, I was going to ask about that song because the title, Too Much Information, the line is in that song. So is there a certain significance to that particular song?
Well, yes, there is. I think Midnight on the Hill seems like a centerpiece for the record. It feels like we recorded it in our own studio. We've recorded the first 5 in Sunderland with our friends Field Music, and we then were building a studio in Newcastle at the same time, which was ready when we'd finished another batch of songs. So we would go in and record these songs, and it felt like a moment where everything clicked in terms of us finding our sound ourselves for the record. It's just a bit of a beast of a song. It kind of starts slowly, but the drum stays all the way. It kind of, there's something very steady about it, and it kind of fluctuates. There's like different movements, almost like the middle 8 is falsetto, and everything drops out apart from a little guitar and a strange keyboard, and then the whole song kind of piles back in again, all the way to the end, to an outro that's totally different from where the song started. So I don't like to say journey, but that song is the kind of, it's the archetypal journey in song. It goes from one place to the next, and the line as well, that too much information comes from, it's like, it says a sudden silence, too much information, when you feel like the other person's just stopped responding to you, and it's like, whoa, did you really say that? And it's then the next line is, what happened next, I would like to know. And it's almost about losing your memory when you've had too much to drink, but also in the story, what happened next, where does it go from here? And the song up to that point has led you in a certain direction, so you probably can assume where it all goes.
and it's for the listener to fill it in then?
I think so. I think we're not. It's like there's bands like where you it's a story song and there's a kind of repetition to it, and like a folk song where you have each verse and the next bit is told and it's a story. Whereas these are more like, for me they were kind of inspired by reading short stories by a lady called Lydia Davis, and some of her short stories are just a paragraph, and some of them are a page, some of them are 10 pages, but all of her short stories, she packs in so much information into very few words, that it can kind of it distills a moment into this piece of art that you can mull over. You can kind of go, what's happening here? It's over. It's like a pop song. It's over pretty quickly, so you can digest it and think about it, and you can press play again and put it straight back on and think about what it might be about and what it makes you feel. So yeah, for me it was kind of influenced by that way of doing things.
And then this then is a reflection as well on what you mentioned before with the interaction with the audience.
Yeah, it's almost, Midnight on the Hill is almost like a role-playing game where it's up to you to choose the next path, where it goes. It's this kind of mood of this drive at night, this floodlit tennis court at the start. It's something that I saw and that I see quite regularly, and you're like, kids or whatever down on the tennis courts at night having a drink in or whatever, and then the other side of it, people going for a drive when they've just sort of, there's somebody's the designated driver, which again in the song it says a designated drive, a vehicle alive with voices quick and shrill, which is again trying to paint a picture for the listener of being inside this car that's just buzzing, and somebody's sober at the front, just probably a bit annoyed at everybody else, but there's just this, it's trying to give you a little story so that you can work out where it went next, but also maybe the narrator doesn't know because he's lost his memory.
Well, I read somewhere that you mentioned memory, that memory and nightlife in particular were certain the two themes that ran through the album. Is there a reason why? Is it?
Well, I've been awake in the middle of the night a lot recently, and it's made me think, what was my life like at this time of night 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? And something like Brain Cells, for example, came out of that, thinking about all-nighters where you would be up till 6 in the morning and driving back on a coach back to your home city after being out clubbing all night and seeing the dawn rise, and people are cuddling up to each other, and there's even the story hasn't ended of the story of the night goes on, and people talk about it in college on the Monday, and you know, it's or university. It's, for me, I wanted to kind of reflect on those moments because they were such a big part of my life. And nowadays I still go out quite a lot, but more to concerts or to social gatherings with friends, and it's a more of a solid thing. And then when you're out on tour as well, you know, you meet new people all the time, and we're kind of lucky in that respect that we have this other aspect to our lives where we travel and take in loads more information. But the idea of memory and those feelings still being there somewhere, and you're thinking, why am I thinking about this thing that happened 10 years ago? And it's because, you know, some things just don't go away. And it doesn't mean that they're a danger. You know, sometimes you think, oh, I'm thinking about this person. What would my girlfriend think? But that's just life, you know. It's kind of, the songs are trying to be honest about feelings and about the way we act with each other. And you know, these songs are built around memories. They're kind of commemorations, really, of sort of trying to keep a moment forever and sort of saying that moment was important then, and it was important now because I can still remember it. Other things fade away, which is why it's good to keep notes and try and keep an eye on things that might end up as a good point for a song. But I think there's a lot of interaction between now and then on the record. Something like Drinking Martinis is a good example of that, or a song like Where We're Going is very much about the future. It's kind of, and that's why it's at the end of the record, really, in terms of the sequence. You know, it's like, I don't know where we're going, but you know where we're going, and if you know where we're going, well, that's fine with me. Kind of like a little riddle, but kind of talking about the body language between two people, and just knowing that somebody else knows what's going on is a comforting thought. And so it was a nice idea, maybe to have a song like that on the record as the kind of last one, rather than too much looking back. Right. There's this kind of play between songs that look back and songs that are looking forwards a bit.
Well, we're almost out of time. I just have a couple of short questions. You mentioned a sound earlier, the finding or searching for a sound in the studio. How much of this was part of you producing the record yourself?
Big part, yeah. It was. We wanted to change everything, as we always do with each record. We wanted to make sure we were giving ourselves and other people something new, but also we didn't know how to do everything. But so we were kind of experimenting in the studio to find out how to record something the way we wanted it to be. And I suppose at the end of it, it was all kind of made more cohesive by the mix in New York. We spent 2 weeks on Skype every day talking to Nicholas Verhees, who produced the Deer Hunter record and Atlas Sound Records, and we knew that he could get a kind of keep the diversity of the songs, but make each song interesting on its own, as well as having an album, kind of keeping an eye on what the album was all about sonically. But yeah, I think it was an adventure for us, which is good. Each time, if you're in a studio with somebody as a producer in a different place, that's an adventure. But doing something in your own home studio is also kind of, it's like having a big playground for ideas.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.